On this day in 2000, Robbie Williams offered to test to see if he was a match to donate his bone marrow to a fan. He also asked his fans to consider signing up as potential donors, especially male ones, as there was a desperate shortage. On this day in 2007, Ozzy Osbourne claimed that his reputation had been tarnished after the US police used him as a decoy to try and capture missing suspects. He was playing a gig in North Dakota, and the local police sent invitations to over 500 people with outstanding warrants, claiming that he was going to be at the party. More than 30 of those suspects turned up to the party. Ozzy said that it was insulting that his name had been used, whereas the police just said they were being creative. On this day in 1974, George Harrison became the first Beatle to undertake a solo world tour when he played his first of 30 shows in Vancouver, Canada. On this day in 1984, Marvin Gaye Sr. was sentenced to a 6-year suspended sentence and probation for the manslaughter of his son, Marvin Gaye. On this day in 1996, Eva Cassidy sadly passed away at the age of 33 from skin cancer. She became the only artist to have 3 #1 albums since passing. In 2001 she had Songbird, in 2002 she had Imagine, and in 2003 she had American Tune. On this day in 2023, 1989 became the UK's fastest selling record of that year. It sold 140,000 copies in 1 week. In the US, 1.1 million copies were sold. 580 of those were on vinyl, which is a record in and of itself. On this day in 1993, Russian inventor Leon Theremin passed away. He's most famous for the invention of one of the first electronic musical instruments, the theremin. He first performed with the theremin with the New York Philharmonic in 1928. On this day in 2003, P. Diddy ran the New York City Marathon. He raised $2 million for the educational system in New York. He finished the race in 4 hours and 18 minutes. On this day in 2019, Bruce Dickinson left his wife of 29 years to move in with a superfan that was 15 years his junior. On this day in 2013, the first ever YouTube Awards were held in New York City. Eminem won Artist of the Year Award, and I Knew You Were Trouble won the YouTube Phenomenon Award. On this day in 1963, just one night after coming off of a 30-day tour with the Everly Brothers, the Rolling Stones kicked off another 50-day tour. On this day in 2009, No Doubt filed a lawsuit over its portrayal in the video game Band Hero. The lawsuit alleged that the game had transformed No Doubt into a virtual karaoke circus act, singing dozens of songs that they neither wrote, popularised or performed. In 2012, the issue was settled out of court just 2 weeks before the trial was set to begin. On this day in 1993, Martin Gore, most famous for being in Depeche Mode, was arrested at the Denver West End Hotel after refusing to turn the volume down of the music in his room. On this day in 1997, Shania Twain released her third studio album, Come On Over. It went on to become the best-selling country music album of all time by a female act. It sold over 40 million copies worldwide, 20 million of those were stateside and 3.3 million of those were in the UK. And then 12 out of the 16 tracks were released as singles. On this day in 1967, Pink Floyd made their US live debut when they played in Winterland Auditorium in San Francisco. They shared the bill with a local band, Big Brother and the Holding Company. Their singer was the not yet well-known Janis Joplin. So on this day in 1991, Johnny Cash, Jimi Hendrix, the Isley Brothers, Sam and Dave, the Yardbirds, Booker T and the MGs, and Bobby Bland were all elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On this day in 1956, the Nat King Cole Show debuted on NBC TV. It was the first of its kind to be hosted by an African American. On this day in 2003, Bobby Hatfield of the Righteous Brothers was found dead in his hotel room just 30 minutes before he was due on stage. The autopsy report suggested that Hatfield suffered an unexpected sudden death due to acute toxicity. On this day in 1977, the manager of a Virgin record store in Nottingham was arrested for displaying a large poster advertising the album Nevermind the Here's the Pistols. A lot of High Street stores had banned the album after the police had warned that they could be fined under the 1898 Indecent Advertising Act. On this day in 1988, The Locomotion became the first song to reach the top 5 in the US charts in 3 different versions. The latest version was Kylie Minogue when it reached number 3 in 1988. Before that, it was Grand Funk Railroad in 1974, and before that, it was Little Eva in 1962. On this day in 1992, Black Sabbath were honoured with a plaque at the Rock Walk in Hollywood, California. On this day in 1993, Nirvana recorded their MTV Unplugged special at Sony Studios in New York. They played a setlist consisting of mainly their lesser-known material, as well as covers from the Vaselines, David Bowie, Meat Puppets, and Lead Belly. Their performance went on to become the most popular and iconic MTV Unplugged special, and in 1996 it even won a Grammy for the Best Alternative Music Album. On this day in 2005, a Belgian songwriter, Salvador Quavia, won a plagiarism case against Madonna's 1998 hit, Frozen. The songwriter claimed that Madonna's song copied 4 bars of his song, and forgive me for the pronunciation, Ma vie vu le camp, which translates to My Life's Getting Nowhere. The judge agreed, and as a result, Frozen received a ban from Belgium, which meant that there was no TV or radio stations that were able to play the song, and no record stores were able to sell it. In 2014, the Paris Court of Appeals reversed the decision, stating that his song didn't have enough originality to be considered for plagiarism. Here's a translation of part of what the judge said. Apart from the works of classical music or folk songs or old, there are more recent prior art, including pop songs, blues, or rock. These citations are destructive of originality. Due to the court's ruling, the Frozen ban was lifted in Belgium.
You only see what your eyes want to see. How can life be what you want it to be?
Là sur ce pavé ensanglanté, de ma sève qui ne cesse de couler.
On this day in 1992, REM played a Greenpeace benefit show at the 40 Watt Club in Athens, Georgia, in front of 500 people. The show was recorded on a solar-panelled mobile recording studio. On this day in 2004, Liam Gallagher was fined £40,000 due to a fight in a German hotel. The fight happened in Munich in December 2002 and led to the arrest of Liam Gallagher, Oasis drummer Alan White, and 3 of the band's entourage. During the fight, Liam lost his 2 front teeth, which led to the band cancelling the German tour. On this day in 1974, Keith Moon collapsed on stage during a concert with The Who after his drink had been spiked with horse tranquilizer. 19-year-old Scott Halpin was in the audience and offered to replace him on the drums for the remaining 3 songs.
We're just going to revive our drama.
Happy birthday to Canadian singer-songwriter Carly Rae Jepsen. In 2012, she released a single, Call Me Maybe, which reached number 1 in 18 countries and became the year's best-selling single. On this day in 1980, Don Henley was arrested after a 16-year-old girl was found naked, suffering from an overdose in his Los Angeles home. He said he called for a sex worker that night, but didn't learn of the girl's age until after his arrest. He also said that he didn't remember the anatomical details, but he knew that there had been no sex between the pair. In 1981, he pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He was sentenced to 2 years probation and received a $2,500 fine. On this day in 2019, Polestar released a list of the highest grossing tourist artists of the 2010s. In at number 1 was U2, who grossed over $1 billion. In at number 2 was the Rolling Stones, who grossed nearly $930 million. In at number 3 was Ed Sheeran, who grossed over $922 million. In at number 4 was Taylor Swift, who grossed nearly $900 million. And in at number 5 was Bon Jovi, who grossed over $868 million. Happy birthday to Destiny Hope Cyrus, more commonly known as Miley Cyrus. Her 2023 song Flowers broke the record for the most streamed song on Spotify in any given week. It also became the fastest song in Spotify history to surpass 1 billion streams, doing so in just 112 days. The song debuted at number 1 in the global chart and reached number 1 in 35 countries. On this day in 2019, Taylor Swift walked away with the Artist of the Decade award at the annual American Music Awards. She also walked away with 5 other awards, including Artist of the Year, Favourite Music Video, Favourite Pop Rock Female Artist, Favourite Pop Rock Album, and Favourite Adult Contemporary Artist. This brought her total to 29 wins, making her the most awarded artist in the awards history, beating the likes of Michael Jackson. On this day in 1992, the Rolling Stones bassist Bill Wyman's divorce was finalised to his ex-wife Mandy Smith. They'd been married for 17 months and she was awarded £580,000 in the settlement. They began dating when he was 47 years old. She was only 13 years old, and the mother gave consent for him to date her. On this day in 1991, Freddie Mercury sadly passed away at the age of 45 following complications from the AIDS virus. It came just one day after he announced his diagnosis to the press, releasing the following statement. Following the enormous conjecture in the press over the last 2 weeks, I wish to confirm that I've been tested HIV positive and have AIDS. I felt it correct to keep this information private to date to protect the privacy of those around me. However, the time has come now for my friends and fans around the world to know the truth, and I hope that everyone will join with my doctors and all those worldwide in the fight against this terrible disease. My privacy has always been very special to me, and I am famous for my lack of interviews. Please understand this policy will continue. According to Jim Hutton's autobiography, Freddie Mercury prepared the statement on the evening of the 22nd with help from others. It was then released to the press on the 23rd. According to Jim Hutton's autobiography, Freddie Mercury prepared the statement on the evening of the 22nd with help from others. It was then released to the press on the 23rd. On this day in 1984, Do They Know It's Christmas was recorded at the SARM Studios in London. It was written by Bob Geldof and Midge Ure and sold over 3 million copies in the UK alone and raised over £8 million worldwide.
This is David Bowie. I've been trying to think of shock tactics to present what I've been asked to present, but the figures themselves are really alarming. Over the next 12 months, it's projected that well over 360,000 children under the age of 4 will die in Ethiopia. That works out to something like 1,000 children under 4 a day.
Happy birthday to one of the world's best-selling artists of all time, Tina Turner. She's been referred to as the Queen of Rock and Roll and won 11 Grammys over her career. She passed away in 2023 at the age of 83. On this day in 1991, Garth Brooks asked fans to bring 10 cans of food to a grocery store in exchange for a lottery envelope. In some of these envelopes were tickets to his upcoming show. Due to this, over 10,000 cans ended up being donated to charity. On this day in 1997, Whitney Houston pulled out of a concert sponsored by the Moonies 2 hours before she was due on show, when she realised it was actually a ceremony for 1,000 couples to get married. The religious group said they had no intention of suing the singer so long as she returned the $1 million fee that she received. On this day in 2009, Susan Boyle's debut album made chart history when it went on to become the best-selling debut album of all time, selling 410,000 copies. It also topped the US charts and set a first-week sales record for a female debut artist, selling 701,000 copies.
My name is Susan Boyle, and that's just one side of me.
On this day in 1996, singer and ukulele player Tiny Tim passed away while singing his now infamous song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, live on stage.
Oh.